Dad tosses the baby a little too high, growls, chases, wrestles on the floor, and somewhere in the room, a part of you tenses up. Is this too much? Here's what's actually true. Dads really do play rougher than moms, on average, across cultures, and it's not an accident or a lack of gentleness. Researchers have found a specific biological and psychological reason behind it. And the science says that rougher play isn't something to worry about. It's doing something for your baby that softer play simply can't. Hey, welcome back. I'm Maya. This is one of the most consistent findings in father-infant research. Across dozens of studies in different countries, fathers' play style measurably differs from mothers, more physical, more unpredictable, more big. One pediatrician summed up decades of observation in one line: mother's stroke, father's poke. Today, we're getting into why that difference exists in the first place, the biology behind it, the evolutionary theory behind it, and the actual research on what this rougher play is doing for your baby's development. And by the end, if you're a dad who's ever felt a little judged for riling the baby up, you'll have the science to back up exactly what your instincts are already doing right. Part 1, the measurable difference. Let's start with what researchers have actually observed. Studies comparing mother-infant and father-infant play consistently find the same pattern. Mother's play tends to be more visual and verbal, faces, sounds, soothing exchanges. Father's play tends to be more physical and tactile, lifting, bouncing, mock wrestling, chasing. This isn't every mother or every father. It's an average pattern that shows up again and again across research. Father's play also tends to have a different rhythm, bursts of high energy followed by pauses, rather than the steadier, sustained engagement mothers often bring. Researchers describe this as more unpredictable in the best sense. Quick shifts, surprises, a kind of controlled chaos. And here's the part that matters most. Babies don't experience this as random noise. Research on infant engagement shows babies actually orient toward this kind of play with clear excitement, not distress, when it's delivered by an attuned, responsive caregiver. Part 2, the biological driver. So why does this pattern show up so consistently? Part of the answer seems to be hormonal. Researcher Ruth Feldman's work on parent-infant bonding found that oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, gets released differently depending on the type of interaction. In mothers, oxytocin release is more strongly linked to affectionate touch, stroking, holding, gazing. In fathers, researchers have found oxytocin release more strongly linked to something called proprioceptive touch, physically moving a baby through space. Lifting, bouncing, swinging. One study measuring fathers' hormone levels found that the more physical, movement-based play fathers engaged in with their 6-month-olds, the higher their oxytocin levels measured afterward. In other words, rough play isn't working against a father's bonding instinct. For many dads, it may be one of the primary channels that bonding instinct actually runs through. The physical play isn't a substitute for closeness. For a lot of fathers, biologically, it may be the closeness. Part 3, the evolutionary angle. There's an evolutionary theory behind this too. Some researchers who study fatherhood across cultures, including work in hunter-gatherer societies, have proposed that fathers historically occupied a specific role. Not the primary, everyday caregiver, but what some call the activating parent, introducing novelty, risk-taking, and exploration into a child's world. Interestingly, in cultures where fathers are more involved in routine, everyday caregiving, some researchers have observed less of this specific rough play pattern, suggesting it may partly reflect role differentiation between caregivers, rather than something biologically fixed and unavoidable. Either way, across a wide range of family structures, kids consistently seek this kind of play out, and consistently respond to it with excitement rather than fear, when a trusted caregiver is the one providing it. Part 4, what this play is actually doing. So what is rougher play actually building? Research on father-child physical play links it to several specific outcomes: better emotional regulation, more comfort with appropriate risk-taking, and stronger self-control in early childhood. The mechanism seems to work like this. A child experiences a small, safe spike of excitement or uncertainty during the toss. The chase, the surprise growl, followed immediately by resolution, safety, and laughter. Repeated hundreds of times, this becomes a kind of rehearsal. Big feelings arrive, and then they pass safely with a trusted person right there the whole time. Some studies have also linked this kind of play to better social competence later on. Kids who have had more of this type of interaction tend to read peer social cues more easily and recover from minor social setbacks with less distress. None of this replaces the equally essential soothing, verbal, face-to-face play more commonly associated with mothers. The research increasingly suggests babies benefit from both styles specifically because they're different, not despite it. Part 5. Addressing the worry. Is this too rough? Now the honest caveat. Rougher doesn't mean unsafe or unregulated. The research on this topic is specifically about attuned, responsive rough play, where the adult is closely reading the baby's reactions the entire time and adjusting instantly. If a baby turns away, arches their back, or shifts from laughter to real crying, that's the signal to dial it back immediately, not a green light to push further. The benefit isn't in the intensity of the play itself. It's in the pattern of safe uncertainty followed by safe resolution, delivered by someone who's paying close attention. A parent, dad or mom, who's distracted or not reading the baby's cues during rough play isn't getting the same benefit, regardless of how physical the interaction looks on the surface. So if you're a dad second-guessing that instinct to toss, chase, or wrestle, the research says the instinct itself is sound. The only thing that matters is staying attuned while you do it. If this took some pressure off, hit subscribe. Next week, I'm covering the exact games backed by this research, broken down age by age. Let's recap. Fathers really do play rougher than mothers on average, and it's a consistent pattern across cultures, more physical, more unpredictable, more big. Part of the reason may be hormonal. Oxytocin in fathers appears more strongly linked to physical, movement-based play, rather than the affectionate touch more associated with mothers. Evolutionary theories suggest fathers may have historically occupied more of an activating role, introducing novelty and controlled risk. And the research on outcomes is genuinely encouraging. This kind of play is linked to better emotional regulation, healthier risk-taking, and stronger social competence later on. The one real caveat is attunement. Rough play only helps when the adult is closely watching the baby's cues and adjusting in real time. Get that part right, and the roughness itself isn't something to apologize for. It might be exactly what your baby needs from you. If you're a dad who's ever felt a little self-conscious about the wrestling matches or the tossing games, you can stop second-guessing that instinct today. Comment your go-to rough play game with your kid. I want to hear it. Subscribe for next week's age-by-age breakdown. See you in the next one.